Hey there, welcome to Audio YouTube. My name is Mark. It seems that at this point, everybody, including their dog, has talked about H24. If you don't believe me, this is a selection and a review of related literature of some people that I like watching. Sebastian of the Perfume guy likes it. On top of the published notes, he said that he experiences pomelo or grapefruit and petrichor, and this reminds him of Le Labo's Bay 19. He finds it to be unique for a designer. Justine Copeland of Justine Copeland ranks it 5 in a list of 10 best freshies. He describes the metallic quality as fresh and cooling. He doesn't find it mind-blowing, but good for what it is. Ash of Gent Scents discusses the development in detail. He doesn't hate it and finds it just okay. Flat and uninteresting upon the dry down, especially after you've smelled it a few times, he says. He gives it a 6 out of 10. Josephine of Jus de Rose describes it as smart and laid back, but personally she dislikes it and was in fact disappointed. She doesn't recommend blind buying, and also she finds it traditional but made modern with the addition of metallic notes. She gives it a score of 3 out of 10. Amin loves the opening but finds it dry down as something that's just not for him. It smells like it was created by robots, he says. Many will love it for its uniqueness, but it's not for everyone. Max of Max Forti finds it nice, but not groundbreaking. He says that it could easily have been a fragrance from the Jartan line. Steve of Redolessence likes it too, and is also reminded of the Jardin line from Hermes. He experiences it as a nondescript citrus and describes the metallic as warm and sensual. Chris of Fragmental likes it, but it doesn't blow him away. He finds it dominated by florals, and he likes that contrast with the metallic note. He thinks that it's a good everyday office scent. Aaron Terrence Hughes has his own channel, but his review of it comes from a video from Fragmental. His nose, it uses an overdose of an aroma chemical called lachelis, which is a lily of the valley note. To him, it smells dry and it smells of linen. He doesn't think that it's bad, but he doesn't personally like the notes. He gives it a score of 7 out of 10. Finally, Cuba of Cubaknow likes it and was surprised to like it, and describes it as, quote, floral with such a level of nice masculinity, end quote. There's one more YouTuber who did a review, but it was so negative that people disliked it so much until he had to take it down from his channel. By the way, I think that there are many different ways to say the name of this fragrance, because H24 or H24, it's in part referring to technology. So, it's like serial numbers of computers and things like that. In the Philippines, we would just say, if this were a serial code of some kind, people here would say H24. But I suppose in France, they would say H24. So, whichever. Tomato, as far as this one's concerned. I happen to love H24. But I didn't like it at first. The first time I tried it was in Restance, the department store. And when I first tested it, I felt like it was so bodiless. I was in fact shocked that Hermes would put out something so thin. So it wasn't exactly an olfactory experience. The second time I tried it, it was night and day. Suddenly it opened, it bloomed, and ever since, this was last year, I distinctly remember driving back home from cash and carry. So I was driving home and the fragrance, which I sprayed heavily on my forearms, was just wafting toward my face. And it was such a beautiful, memorable, positive experience that I cannot possibly dislike H24. Sebastian, who is like the granddaddy of us all, it was so keen of him to have noticed that there is something which is petrichor in H24. In fact, if you overspray H24, the late dry down is going to resemble Herman Amicotime Parisetinum by Etalib d'Orange, and this has petrichor. What are the notes of H24? In Fragrantica, and I believe also in the Hermes website, they list only 4 notes, which are clary sage, narcissus, palisander rosewood, and sclarine. Now, I don't want to repeat the common descriptions of H24, that it smells of hot iron, that it smells of linen, it smells of hot computers. What I do want to note is that the experience of H24 is largely dependent on how much you spray on yourself. AC of AC Smells Good thinks, as far as I understand him, I think what he's saying is that H24, it's not so much the problem of it being a high-tech fougere, it's that it's not a fougere. And to a certain degree, I really do agree with him. In fact, over the last week, I've been thinking that the categories simply don't work anymore. The old classification system, I think that they're less and less applicable to the newer offerings from everybody. You know, like a sheep, is it a sheep? Is it a fougere? What if it's both? Then do you call it a sheep or a fougere? In addition, there's those sub-classifications, like it may be a sheep, but it could be a leather sheep, it could be a fruity sheep, it could be a blah 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 blah. So I don't want to take the subtitle high-tech fougere against H24, but if you are thinking that you're gonna get a fougere experience from H24, then fougere in that case is just very loosely defined as a fragrance that makes you smell clean. Does it smell of barbershop? Absolutely not. You think of fougere and you think of Drakkar Noir, and is this anything at all related to Drakkar Noir? Not at all. Not at all. I myself am not sure if I could comfortably call H24 a fougere. And that brings to mind something that was said by Max Forti and Steve of Redolessence, which is that H24 could have belonged to the Jardin line of Hermes. In that, I disagree with them because I think that where it could have found a home is in the Eau line. Eau d'orange vert concentré, Eau de gentian blanche. This is where it could have found a home. Why? Because it's not exactly a jardin. It's not exactly a garden, but it is minimal. It is a minimalist piece. And so I think that it could have belonged to the Eau line of Hermes. Good God, I love it. What I'd love to praise about H24 is how precise it is about its artistic vision. I want to go to Aaron Terence Hughes' description of it. He said that it was like opening a cabinet of linens. It's that smell that you get, and also of hot iron. The amazing thing about it is that when you entertain those images in your head, when you open a cabinet of linens, while you're seeing in your mind the cabinet of linens, my sense is that when you imagine that, you're in fact imagining that alone. It's a world of solitude. Why am I bringing it up? Because I think that H24 conjures a world in which there are no humans. And that is one thing that makes me think that it's so interesting and avant-garde. There is hardly anything, in fact, no, you know what? I'll be braver. I will say it, that there's nothing human about H24, which in a way is somewhat echoing what Joy Amin was saying, that it was made by a robot. I don't think it was made by a robot, but I think that, but there's something similar that we both perceive in that it's not human. You know, the Jardin lines are obviously very human. They're gardens. They would evoke memories. Those are things that you've smelled before. Those are sensations that you felt before. But when you go to H24 or H24, I think it really delivers on the promise of it being having something to do with technology. More technology than human. When I was writing the notes for this review, one of the words that I put down on paper was post-apocalyptic. That description used to happen a lot in art. When a piece of art was like describing something after the apocalypse. I think H24 is that too. I do experience it also as a very floral fragrance, but that floral fragrance is also somewhat fruity. So it's fruity and floral, and that opening that Ash of Gent Scents praised so much, I do praise also. Ash, however, has a huge problem with the dry down, with which I have no problem whatsoever. The only dry down that I really dislike is when it's the generic amber musk wood base. Those things just suck. As far as performance is concerned, in my experience, it is long-lasting, at least 8 hours. However, it's not like monstrous. The projection is really wonderful for maybe the first hour. And then after that, it goes to a kind of steady baseline. It is still there. It won't leave your skin. It is perceivable, yes, but it isn't something that you could even begin to compare with the dry downs of something from Mancera or something like that. So it gets to be quiet and subtle, but at the same time, sharp enough to be perceived, sharp enough to be noticed. I love H24. I love it as much as I love Eau de Gentian Blanche. I also love it as much as Terre d'Hermes EDT, but I don't love it as much as I love Terre d'Hermes Eau de Parfum. Or sorry, they call it Pure Parfum, which is, the best. The best of Hermes. Is it entirely fair to H24, or in fact, more importantly, are we being fair to ourselves if we keep comparing Ashevin Cat to the other offerings from Hermes? I could only speak for myself, but I'm beginning to think really that I should just stop. I don't think I'm being fair to myself. I feel like I'm robbing myself of the experience of appreciating something fully if I keep comparing this product, or any product, to anything else. Of course, for the sake of analysis, for the sake of discussion, we do rely on comparison as a tool. But if we go down to the experience of a fragrance, H24 to me is just really too unique and too precise about what it sets out to do that I find it impossible not to love it. Now, is this a fragrance that could be blind bought? The only reason I'm not saying that you shouldn't blind buy it is because I don't want to be blamed. But if I were speaking to a nephew or to a cousin, I would just say, yeah, absolutely, blind buy it. But then the good thing is that I doubt if there's any country in the world where there's no Hermes counter. And this being a major release, it's bound to turn up wherever you are. And so if you dislike it the first time, try it another time. Your mind might change. My 3 words for H24: it's precise, it's avant-garde, and it's brave. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you again.